Welcome to Slash Forward. In this episode, we're going to have our first Vincent Price classic with The House on Haunted Hill. If you enjoy scheming and trapdoors leading to vats of acid, you should subscribe to the channel. Let's get to it. We open in darkness as a Halloween compact music disc containing spooky sound effects plays. We then get 2 disembodied heads worth of narration from Pritchard, who owns a haunted house full of ghosts and where some of his family members were murdered, and Frederick Lauren, an eccentric playboy who's rented the house for a special scary party for strangers, with cash prizes to be awarded to those who survive the night. The guests arrive shortly, connected mainly in that most of them are cash-strapped and willing to do just about anything for $10,000, even if they have to die to get it. And either through ghosts or poor maintenance, the house seems eager to claim its prize of additional spirits to keep it company. As they congregate, we learn from Mr. Lauren that the party was his wife's idea, but the ghosts, cash payout, and coterie of strangers was all him. Seems contrary, but we also learn from Annabelle that the two of them can barely tolerate each other. Frederick then announces himself downstairs and explains the rules. They'll be locked in at midnight and can't leave the house thereafter, which also has no power and no phones. If they live, they get the cash reward. Pritchard warns them of the violent ghosts and takes them on a tour of the murders that took place there, ending at a still active acid pit contained in the basement. Lance hangs back with Nora to form an alliance and tries to get the lowdown on the house. As they begin searching, he's closed into a dark room and she's confronted with a ghostly vision. When Nora returns with help, the door is unlocked and they find Lance inside with a goose egg on his melon. As he's mended, the doctor espouses on the symptomology of hysteria, and then Lance sneaks away with Nora again, convinced whatever got at him must have been real and left some evidence. As they examine both sides of the wall, Nora gets a ghostly jump scare, which is not witnessed by Lance. This leads to a slight falling out as Lance refuses to believe in that which he cannot see, such as love. She trudges upstairs on her own and meets Annabelle, who shows her to her room and warns her vaguely about steering clear of Mr. Lauren. And then Nora goes to freshen her makeup but finds it's been replaced by a human head. This causes her to run until she kind of forgets about it. But then a strange man insists that she leave with them, causing her to run down into the lounge. Here we learn the 2 ghouls are actually the caretakers, who then peace out early, locking them all in before midnight and taking away any opportunity they had to back out. Frederick then introduces a little chaotic energy into the party by giving everyone a handgun. After getting locked and loaded, Nora takes the group to examine her room, but the head is now gone. Even crazier, she turns down Dr. Trent's offer of free sedatives as they all leave. Lance goes to check on her later but finds the room empty, except for the head now hanging in the closet. He confronts Pritchard, who claims it was the ghosts what took her. Lance is unable to argue the point as they're interrupted by a scream, and they find Annabelle hanging from a rope. As Lance makes his way back to his room, he happens upon Nora, who claims to have been grabbed, choked, and left for dead by an unknown assailant who she assumes was Mr. Lauren. When a meeting is called, Lance recommends she stay put while he sees what's what. As they discuss the best way to survive the next 6 hours, it's suggested they all lock themselves in their rooms, because any innocent person would have no reason to leave. Despite the plan, Lance resolves to find out what's going on, so he ventures out to a familiar hallway and immediately traps himself in a secret room. Meanwhile, a ghost rope begins to menace Nora's ankles, apparently under the direction of the spirit of Annabelle. As she runs from these terrors, she's also startled by a monster's hand, cause this place has got monsters now as well. Dr. Trent enlists the help of Mr. Lauren to investigate, suggesting he go to the basement while the doctor checks upstairs. It's here we learn these events are the conceit of Dr. Trent and Annabelle, his lover. They hope to contrive the necessary circumstances through which they can compel Nora to shoot Mr. Lauren out of fear. The perfect crime. Mr. Lauren's trip to the basement places him on a collision course with death. And it works, as Nora pops him in the chest, and he's dragged to the acid for good measure. When Annabelle arrives, she's confronted by Frederick's bones, which dance a little jig, backing her into the vat where she's eaten alive. Turns out this was all a matter of marionette, as Fred was hip to their plans, having put blanks in the guns, allowing him to get the drop on Dr. Trent, and putting him in the acid instead. With his work now done, he's ready for the proper legal channels to decide the outcome. For him alone, not the others, obviously. House on Haunted Hill was an interesting time capsule to revisit. Although it mostly hits some fairly standard beats and has had elements of its plot done better by other movies, you do have to remember that most of its techniques were novel at the time it was released. If you enjoyed the video, I'd love for you to become a part of the channel by subscribing. Thanks for watching.